All right, we're back. Presentation is being recorded, and please put your questions into the chat, and we are going to do our best to answer all the questions at the end of the presentation. So depending on how many questions we get, and we'll see if there are some duplications. We've got some background team players checking out the questions that you are submitting as we go through this presentation. All right, so we did test playing this video. My apologies if anything goes wrong, but hopefully you can hear and see what's on the screen. And if you can't, please enter something into the chat room so that we can start again. Here we go.
Hey, Audrey, there's no volume.
Okay, I'm hearing that there was no sound, correct? Hello, can anyone, Adrian, you said there was no sound.
Correct.
Okay, can everybody else weigh in that you could not hear this?
People are saying it in the chat.
I couldn't hear it.
Okay, hang on, I'm gonna take my headphones off, maybe that's the problem. Okay. I think when we tested it, I didn't have a headset on.
We make it, use it, and throw it away. The average Ontarian produces 800 kilograms of waste every year. Only 25% of that waste is recycled. At this rate, Ontario will need 16 new or expanded landfills by 2050. We need to stop thinking of waste as garbage and start thinking of it as a resource. The shift in thinking is underway in Ontario. From a traditional linear economy, where natural resources are extracted, manufactured into products, consumed, and thrown away, to a circular economy, where products and packaging are designed to minimize waste and then recovered, reused, recycled, and reintegrated back into production. A circular economy preserves natural resources, protects the environment, reduces greenhouse gases, spurs innovation, and creates jobs. The shift from a linear to a circular economy is gaining momentum globally and locally. The Resource Productivity and Recovery Authority was created by the Ontario government to support the transition to a circular economy. We do this by enforcing individual producer responsibility, or IPR requirements, for businesses to collect and manage the products and packaging they sell. We also support businesses in meeting these requirements. We can conduct inspections, issue compliance orders, and if necessary, prosecute businesses that don't follow the law. We also oversee some programs that help divert waste from landfill, like the Blue Box program. We operate a registry to collect and analyze information that will be shared with businesses and the public about Ontario's progress towards a waste-free future. Tires are the first material designated under Ontario's IPR requirements, and more materials will be designated in the coming years. Ontario has ambitious goals to divert more waste from landfill. A circular economy today will lead to a waste-free tomorrow. Learn more at rpra.ca.
Okay, that was great. Let me put my headset back on. Can everyone hear me okay? Give me a thumbs up. Yeah, thank you. All right, so Ontario is doing great things, and we are slowly creating more and more sectors that are going to be responsible for their products. So individual producer responsibility, another term that's used widely is extended producer responsibility. So this organization, the RPRA, is going to be the driver of keeping everybody on board and collecting data as to the success, which is so exciting. It's really great. So now let's go into our Circular Economy Club overview. We have a few slides provided by Circular Economy Club. So it's one of the largest international networks we became part of that, and often there is networking between different countries as we learn from each other and support one another. It's excellent to have this kind of collaboration, because that is how we're going to make a difference as we learn from other countries and other business models that have figured out things, and then we bring them, you know, over to North America and vice versa. So we're really excited to be part of the Circular Economy Club. 140 countries. So their vision is very similar to our vision, and we just localize it a little bit, but they are looking for worldwide ability, and we are concentrating within our own local area to end an age of waste. So it's a big vision. There's a lot of moving parts. Again, collaboration is going to be the key. And also, you know, to become a circular city, because then we have the support of the government agencies and all the pieces that come with that through local infrastructure and municipal organizations that are driving our waste pickups and our recycling and our, you know, lighting on our highways, and you know, there's so many pieces. It can't be done just by citizens. It's a combination of local strategy by municipalities and citizens becoming more aware. So that's one of the most important things here, is that embedding the circular economy takes collaboration between those two groups. Our Toronto, Circular Toronto group, we do have a website, as you know now, because you've been there to sign up. We decided the topic of this webinar would be creating value from waste, because we find that is extremely important for us to help educate people on the value of your waste and what's happening to the things that are in your blue box, or how can we even take it one step further and reduce what's going into the blue box. So innovation to reduce and eventually end the age of waste. Reimagining how companies can change processes and how their products are able to be repaired and reused or repurposed into new products. That's the key to what we're talking about today. I would just like to acknowledge the land here in Toronto, and I'm going to read this because I have not got it memorized. The City of Toronto acknowledges that we are on the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe and the Chippewa. I'm challenged with how to pronounce this, Haudenosaunee and the Wendat people, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. The city also acknowledges that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13, signed with the Mississaugas of the Credit, and the Williams Treaty, signed with the multiple Mississaugas and Chippewa bands. Thank you for being respectful of this land acknowledgement. All right, Circular Cities Week. This is what it's all about. 180 cities across the globe participating. No, sorry, 80 cities, 140 chapters, but to CEC globally, but 80 chapters have signed up to do workshops. So you can see how widespread that is. And we're very excited to be part of that. These objectives are, as you can see, are to support city governments and to for us to report back. These are very broad spectrum statements by the Circular Economy Club that about the economic opportunities and some examples of companies. So we are looking here at eliminating the concept of waste, keeping assets at their highest value, and to enable digital technology. So circular cities in particular are following through on the bottom 4 points there. I'll let you read those quickly as we're going to move on to introducing our panelists. Oh, we would like Shada just to speak briefly about the built environment. Shada, go ahead and tell us a little bit about this, and we'll catch up on our panelists in a moment.
Thanks, Audrey. Hi everyone, I'm Shada Shahi. I'm an architect, lecturer, and PhD candidate at the University of Waterloo. We are currently working on a collaborative research project with the University of Texas at Austin and the Construction Industry Institute in the US on studying construction-related companies and business models in the circular economy. To highlight the importance of construction in the circular economy, I want to point out that over 560 million tons of construction demolition waste is produced annually in the US alone, and we are recycling, reusing, and burning only a portion of that. Integrating circular economy construction principles can improve productivity and save us hundreds of billions of dollars globally. We've done a global scan of 80 companies in construction, and a handful are currently operating in Canada, but we do need to do better. Next slide, please. Most of the Canadian companies working in circular economy are in Ontario. I will review CRH Canada, Timeless Materials, and Keyswetter Construction, Demolition as examples. CRH Canada is a global building materials company. They're a material producer treating waste as a useful secondary material. Timeless Materials serves contractors, designers, and individuals, providing a variety of reclaimed wood products and architectural salvage. And Keyswetter Demolition is a leader in selective demolition in Ontario. They disassemble buildings in ways to allow for material salvaging. If anyone's interested to talk about this more, please reach out to me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shada. And this is just the beginning. I'm sure there are many more studies going on. Thank you so much, Shada. Next is, we are introducing our panelists. We have Emily, Tom, and Brent. And Emily, you are on deck first to introduce yourself and go through your presentation. I'm trying to unmute you. There you go. You're good.
I think, okay, great, thanks. Thanks very much for having me. Actually, do you mind going to the next slide? Mm-hmm. Thanks. My name is Emily Marmoreo, and I work for the City of Toronto in the Circular Economy and Innovation Unit. I want to thank everyone for having me here today. Do you mind going to the next slide? Thank you. So in 1 year, the City of Toronto manages over 900,000 tons of waste. Sorry, I'm just going to get myself set up here. Managing all of this waste requires money, energy, and resources. It also takes up valuable landfill space, and it contributes to greenhouse gas emissions. In addition, the City of Toronto's organics processing facilities and it also takes up valuable landfill space, and it contributes to greenhouse gas emissions. In addition, the City of Toronto's organics processing facilities and existing and closed landfill sites are some of the largest producers of biogas and landfill gas. To address these issues, the City of Toronto developed the Long-Term Waste Management Strategy, which was approved by City Council in 2016. The Long-Term Waste Management Strategy focuses on waste reduction, reuse, and recycling, and other activities that reduce our environmental impact. In this strategy, the city adopted aspirational goal of zero waste and the circular economy. Since then, city staff have been striving to make many of our different operations and services more circular. Today, I will talk about how what we have done to create value from the organics material that we collect as part of our Green Bin Organics program. If you could go to the next slide, please. So the City of Toronto uses these circular principles to guide our work. Reduce our reliance on non-renewable natural resources like fossil fuels and limit our carbon footprint. Maximize the use of resources. Of course, that's reducing, sharing, repairing, reusing, remanufacturing. And redesign our processes to reduce waste and, where possible, regenerate natural systems. These have helped guide our work in making our Green Bin program more circular. If you could please go to the next slide. So just to set the scene a little bit, the City of Toronto provides weekly organics collection to all homes in the City of Toronto, which is about 400,000 homes, 65% of all apartments and condominiums, which is also about 400,000 units, and up to 7,000 small businesses, charities, schools, and religious organizations. I don't have the number off the top of my head, but I think it's over 150,000 tons of organics that we collect in a year. So the Green Bin Organics program helps residents in Toronto keep organic material out of the landfill, which helps to reduce the amount of methane, a greenhouse gas, that is emitted. I'm going to talk just a little bit about the process that we use. So once the organic waste is collected from homes and buildings, it is sent to one of two organic processing facilities that the City of Toronto owns. Both facilities use anaerobic digestion to process the organics. In the absence of oxygen, anaerobic digestion transforms organic waste into two products, digestate and biogas. You can see a sample of the digestate in picture number 4. The city sends this digestate to another company where they turn it into a high quality compost, which can be used in parks and green spaces. The City of Toronto also gets some of that compost back, and we give it out for free to our residents at our community environment days. And you can see that in picture 5. Next slide, please. So that's an example of how the City of Toronto manages its waste in a regenerative manner. We're using a byproduct from the process and turning it into compost. In addition to using digestate to create compost, the city will soon be upgrading biogas into renewable natural gas. So currently the city purchases natural gas to fuel vehicles and heat and power buildings. But in collaboration with Enbridge, we are in the process of installing equipment at the Dufferin Organics processing facility that will upgrade the biogas produced from processing organics into renewable natural gas, and then we'll inject that RNG into the natural grid. The city currently flares or burns biogas, which is a common industry practice for managing biogas, but it does not take advantage of its renewable energy potential. The Renewable Natural Gas Project supports the city's long-term waste management strategy and move towards a circular economy by using a closed-loop approach in which organics collection trucks can ultimately be powered by the waste they produce, the waste product that they collect. So you can see that in the image here. The trucks pick up the organic waste, it's processed in the anaerobic digester, then the biogas is upgraded to renewable natural gas. It's injected into the natural gas grid, and then it's used to fuel trucks that then go to pick up the organics. So it's a great example of circular economy happening at the City of Toronto. And if you could go on to the next slide. So we have many other projects on the go in my unit at the City of Toronto. One of the key levers the city has to lead by example and leverage our work to change the broader market and economy is procurement. The City of Toronto is one of the largest producers in the Canadian public sector, the largest purchasers in the Canadian public sector. We awarded $2.7 billion worth of contracts in 2018. To leverage the city's purchasing power, we developed a circular procurement framework and implementation plan, which outlines how circular principles can be integrated into the procurement process to drive waste reduction, economic growth, and social prosperity. We have successfully completed a cross-divisional procurement pilot for catering services that enables staff to reduce waste and make sustainable purchases. Fortunately, with COVID-19, it hasn't been able to be put into practice yet, but we look forward to being able to put that one into practice. We also have a couple other procurement pilots on the go. So we are currently working on a baselining study to assess the current state of circularity in Toronto. The baselining study will be a foundation for the implementation of a number of initiatives, including informing the ongoing implementation of our circular procurement framework. The final report from the Baselining for a Circular Toronto research project is expected during the first quarter of 2021, and it'll focus on the food sectors, construction and real estate, and waste management. It is expected that the outcomes of this research will enable staff to better understand industry-specific readiness to implement circular principles, and thereby informing engagement with prospective industries, sectors and spend categories. And lastly, the baselining research findings will also be used to develop a multi-year circular economy roadmap for the city. That should be started next year. The circular economy roadmap will articulate citywide circular economy targets and outline key performance indicators to enable staff to track progress against social, environmental, and economic outcomes. If you could switch slides, please. So this is just a thank you. Thanks for having me today. If you have any questions, feel free to send me an email. Thanks very much.
Thanks so much, Emily. And we're so proud that Toronto is working toward being a circular city. It's exciting, and we're glad to hear the progress that you've been making. Tom, you are up next. And Tom is the CEO and founder of Ethos Assets. Tom, I think you're off mute now. Can we do a little test? Are you good?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm good.
Here we go.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tom Manimanakis. As Audrey said, I'm the CEO and founder of Ethos Assets. We're a for-profit commercial business that works within the circular economy field. My organization focuses primarily within the industrial, commercial, and some institutional levels aspects where we're literally diverting unwanted, abandoned commercial and consumer products from landfill and converting them into either a social value or a resource value. We don't see waste, we just see a resource that needs a little bit of TLC. And a lot of this work was incorporated as a result of me working within specific areas. Now, like I said, we're circular value creators, so we manage unwanted products. And we do it through a four-step sort of little process, something very important to us because we have to first identify and document what we're dealing with. And sometimes it's a product or material that's still usable, but we know it's got a source value in terms of its resources and the material. We then start incorporating a marketplace strategy where we either sell for repurposing, reuse, or recycling purposes, because there are materials out there that can be recycled properly and be resold back into remanufacturing new products. But one of the key areas which I very, very much enjoy is the social good, in-kind donations. So we work with a number of organizations where we donation match products, materials that they may need for their daily operations or supporting programs that they facilitate through either locations or nationally to support social good. At the end, it's all about a take action, measured impact. No greenwashing here. There's a lot of organizations there that talk about social responsibility, corporate social responsibility, but what we're doing here is we're measuring the metric tons of material being diverted from waste and the CO2 emissions that they emit into the environment, and we give this measured impact approach to many of the organizations we work with. Next slide, please. My work focuses, like I said, traditionally in the commercial, industrial, and institutional levels, but it also includes inventories and retail, textiles, and as I said before, the charity sector. One of the things is the assets that we deal with primarily tend to be distressed assets, abandoned, or unwanted. And this could be as a result of a bankruptcy, foreclosure, downsizing, or a failed sales seasonal program that nobody knows what to do with. So we work with the organizations and the institutions to try and help them find sustainable solutions so they can divert it from landfill. And I'll give you a couple examples of some projects. You can go to the next slide. One is a used clothing project. This was specifically an abandoned location here in Toronto where the landlord was stuck with a lot of used clothing. A lot of this clothing came originally from the charitable sector in the US, where he bought this material at so many pennies on the pound and then started sorting it, redistributing it, and selling it out to third-party markets. When we arrived, there was almost 350,000 pounds of used clothing and material. To give you an idea of how much that is, it's about 25 Cadillac Escalade SUVs worth of product. Well, we went in there and managed it and tried to understand how many products that we have. We focused first on the social purpose aspect of it, where we invited in some charitable organizations to look at what the material was there to see if they had any use specifically within their existing programs. The next thing was we worked also with a clothing recycler, an overseas one, where we managed it properly for them to load in their containers. Now, at the end of the day, we managed it so well that we had a lot of products still left over, so it was given away. We worked with a third party in Central America, actually in Uruguay, who just took it all for free. He brought in his own staff and they sorted it systematically to identify what's good and what's bad. Now, the unfortunate thing about it is when we donated some of the product to the charity, waste is waste. And some waste was identified that was bailed up in this. So unfortunately, the impact that we wanted to generate wasn't as great, but we still had an overall success rate of 80% or higher. Now, we do a lot of direct matching to the SDGs with this because the impact that we create is not just about simple impact measurements, but also collaboration with the SDGs. So this is one of our key focuses. At the end of the day, the landlord had heavily reduced costs in waste disposal and a broom swept clean facility with very, very minimal going to landfill. Another project was a book depository. For those of you who have gone to university and you know the required reading, the hard textbooks that you have to purchase sometimes in the school library. Well, this facility unfortunately went bankrupt because they supplied a lot of universities and colleges throughout the country and in the US. And the trustee was working with an auctioneer liquidator at the time, and they deemed it there's very little value here. So they're questioning on what they can do with it. And the first thing that comes to mind is often to waste the product. My friend, who's the auctioneer liquidator, contacted me asking me if we could find a sustainable solution where we can save in terms of waste costs associated to this project. So we brought in metal recyclers, which gladly took a lot of the metal shelving. We brought in a number of charitable organizations, 5 of them within the GTA, Second Harvest, Margaret's, to name a few, in the Canadian Abuse Center for Awareness. And they gladly picked through whatever they wanted and took it to help them support with their facility and their management. Very little went to waste. Unfortunately, some of the book material, the paper, hard-covered books, did end up going to waste because some of the paper recycling facilities weren't ready to handle hardcover paper books. But we were able to redistribute, from a recycling standpoint, some of the softcover textbooks that were available there. And again, SDG matching, and then we had a very successful outcome where the client saw a broom swept warehouse and a great reduction in their disposal costs. Go to the next slide, please. In the end, as I said, we focus on that principle that the Ontario government is trying to focus on right now. Waste is a resource, and we directly match this through an extensive network that I created over the past 10 years, both from the corporate, commercial, and also the charitable sectors, because we don't see waste, we just see a resource that needs a lot of TLC. Thank you.
Wow, Tom, that was great. And I love your title of Circular Value Creator. That's awesome. I like it. We need more like you. I also loved it that you showed the relationship to the SDG goals, because that's something that a lot of people ask about. How is circular economy related to SDGs? So thank you very much. So Brent, you're up next, and I will unmute you.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Thanks everyone for coming today, and just want to thank the Circular Economy Club in Toronto, Circular Toronto, for the opportunity to be here. If you don't mind just going to the next slide, I'll formally introduce myself. So Brent Smiley, I'm a vice president on the Compugen finance team, helping manage our IT asset disposition programs. And I'm incredibly passionate about reducing the environmental impact that e-waste can have. And I've been lucky enough to be with Compugen Finance and working on the Green for Good program for the last 10 years. And when I do my corporate presentations or I'm presenting to various types of organizations, I like to start with this slide. It's a nice clean slide that depicts what most of our end user technology looks like. whether it be personal or business. And the reality is we consume technology at an incredibly high rate, but not everybody thinks about the environmental impact that goes into manufacturing and creating technology. So after I show them this nice pretty slide of nice current technology, I go to the next slide and I ask everyone, this simple question: what takes 500 pounds of fossil fuels, 50 pounds of chemicals, and 1.5 tons of water? If you can just click next here. And one more time. That is what is required to manufacture a single desktop and a monitor. So that is an awful lot of natural resources and chemicals that go into creating technology that we may or may not use for a couple of years, maybe 3 or 4 years. And sadly, around the world, next slide, please, a lot of this old technology ends up in landfills. Now, fortunately, here in Canada, we're very lucky that, thanks to the EPRA, we've got much tighter regulations on how we process e-waste, but globally, more than 50 million metric tons of e-waste will end up in a landfill in 2020. And sadly, less than 20% of that will be recycled. So this is an incredibly significant environmental concern, so much so that it is the fastest growing stream of waste in the world. And this United Nations is actually calling it the tsunami of e-waste. So we really need to think more about how do we create, use, and ultimately dispose of technology. Next slide, please. So thanks to our friends at the WE Forum, and they are bringing a lot of awareness around the environmental issues that e-waste can have. We've got a new vision on how we can look at electronics, a new circular vision. And in my opinion, it really should start in the design phase, where we're intentionally designing products that minimize the amount of resources we take out of the ground and maximize the amount of recycled content that we can put into these devices, ultimately reducing the environmental impact that IT hardware will have. But where our program comes in is that second circle, the life extension. And that's what I'm really passionate about, is providing devices with a second life. Next slide, please. And if you can just hit one more for me, that'd be great. And so Green for Good is a program that is designed to help organizations across North America manage their end of first life IT assets in a secure and environmentally responsible way. Our program is all about processing those devices, adhering to companies' info security requirements, and then remarketing them, driving value back to the company that donated those devices. And I would say 80+ to 90% of the companies that participate in our program are actually generating revenue. So we're offsetting all of the costs that are associated with their services, and we're actually cutting them a check or putting money into their account. And because it's found money, we encourage those organizations to donate that money back into the community. And to date, through corporate donations, through the Green for Good program, we have raised over $3.2 million, and we're supporting over 165 charities across North America. So we're able to find value in what is perceived as waste and leverage that value to positively impact the community. We've processed over 1.8 million IT assets. And for end user type devices, we've got well over a 90% reuse rate, which means on average, less than 10% of that technology is recycled. The rest is repurposed and it's given a second life. And we knew that by promoting reuse, we were providing additional goodness to the environment. We just really weren't sure at the time how to quantify it. Well, we partnered with an environmental firm out of Calgary, Alberta, and together we generated the protocol to create carbon credits through our refurbishment and resale process. So on top of our customers getting cash back for the product that they're trading in, which they could donate back into the community, they're also self-generating verified carbon credits, which they can use to reduce their carbon footprint. And as a result of that, we've won a number of awards. We were recognized the 2019 Clean 50. We were top project winner, been recognized by Microsoft as well as the Channel Daily News. But we're also very proud members of the United Nations Global Compact, and we are a certified B Corp. And these designations are really important to us because they sort of validate that all the things that we say we're doing around helping our customers manage their end-of-life technology, reducing waste from landfill, helping them impact the community through charitable donations, as well as self-generating carbon credits to reduce their carbon footprint. These designations essentially validate that all the great things that we say we're doing, we are doing. And at the beginning of this presentation, we talked a little bit about the World Circular Economy Forum, and unfortunately this year it had to go virtual. But do you mind just going one more slide, please? We were actually recognized at the WCF this year as one of the top inspiring circular economy solutions around the world. So WCF hired Citra out of Europe to analyze hundreds of circular economy stories, and we were selected and featured as one of them. And it was actually pretty cool to see the Canadian federal minister of the environment spoke about what Canada is doing around circular economy and climate change. And then right after that, our program was featured with a short video. So really proud of this and really grateful to have an opportunity to come here and talk with you about the things that we're doing to positively impact the circular economy. So thank you.
So that was amazing, Brent. Everyone can hear me, I hope. And I'm just curious, did you submit to the World Forum through the email that we sent out to Toronto Business? Is that how you found out how to submit for that award or recognition?
To be honest, I'm not 100% sure how it came to us. Rue, who is on the call here, was actually the individual who brought this to us. So she may be able to highlight where that came from. But
I don't want to spend a lot of time on it, but what I'm proud of is that we, as the Toronto Chapter Circular Economy Club, we did send out emails to our list of companies that we do have as our distribution list, companies that were promoted as circular economy model by people that we know onto our distribution list. So I feel like that list needs to grow. And so I'm just going to say quickly to anyone that's on this webinar that is not part of our team, if you know of companies that have circular economy business models, please pass on names and contacts to us, because our list is going to grow, and then we can offer opportunities to these companies through Global Economy Club Global and get recognition at a global level for you. This is great news, Brent. I'm so happy for Compugen.
Thank you.
All right, we have a few questions for our panelists. So I'd like all the panelists to turn on their video, or I can do that and turn on their mics. There we go. Thank you. And so I'm going to just keep this slide up here while we go through the questions. So recently there was a new Blue Box program announced that is being reviewed. We are going to, just let me double check here. We have less time than we thought because we've gone over a little bit. I'm going to skip that first question and we're going to go to the second question. Okay? I find this a little more open-ended and friendly. So, to our panelists, through innovation and incorporating concepts of circularity, business opportunities are created, as we've seen today. Is there a way to create and support business opportunities? How could you have had an easier experience? Some questions, and then maybe Emily from a municipal level can talk about how you do support business going circular. So who would like to speak first?
Sure, I'll go ahead first.
Thank you, Tom.
The way we support businesses right now, as Brent said earlier during the presentation, we still strictly live in a linear economy where we're generating far too much waste, and there's a lack of education in terms of the products that they're generating or distributing to consumers, whatever products they're selling. So one of the things I like to do is I'm using this as an educational piece. As I'm walking through warehouses or plants and facilities, I'm telling them, what are you doing with all that product over there? Why is it close to that dumpster? So we normally throw it away. So, well, do you know you can get so many cents per pound on it? You've already managed it. You've already created a resource pile there. Why aren't you treating it as, generating an income and reduce the cost, in terms of waste disposal? And so I'm using every opportunity as I can as an educational piece to try and highlight, no, that is not waste. That is not a resource. And they're finding that they can tap into economic opportunities as a result of that, because many of them are very unfamiliar with the principles of circularity and how to incorporate it within their businesses.
That was very succinct and very welcome. Education and awareness is really important. So let's go on to Brent. Brent, what have you got to say to
Sure,
this?
yeah. In a similar sort of as vein as Tom was saying, I agree that, you know, absolutely we need to find ways to support local business opportunities, especially that support the circular economy. And I think one of the biggest challenges is visibility. How do consumers know if a service or a product is circular in nature? So do we look at you know, sort of adopting something similar to what the B Corps have done, where it's a certification program that looks how an organization manages the balance between profit and purpose. And we know that they've got that nice little B Corp logo that we can see on the products that we're buying, which allows the consumer to make an informed decision. Another example in my world would be the Microsoft Authorized Refurbisher Program, which is an initiative led by Microsoft that promotes reuse of technology in a big way. They work with reputable iTAD vendors, and it allows consumers to know, you know, if I buy this device through the MAR program, I know I'm getting a good quality piece of hardware that's going to have legal licenses on it, and I'm not going to be exposed to illegal versions that could have malware or spyware on it. So, you know, I think it's important to make it easy for consumers to know who to support.
Yes.
So maybe an eco label, like a circular eco label, might be a good way to inform those consumers and businesses.
Yeah, that would be very interesting to see if that comes to life at a global level. I know that the Ellen MacArthur Foundation is trying very hard to find ways to authenticate circular business. So thank you, Brent. And Emily, maybe you can speak a little bit to how IPR is part of, you know, extended producer responsibility certainly is going to create business because they are individuals that run a business that is going to help with circular products and services.
Yeah, making businesses responsible for end of use life management of their products, including cost, promotes an environment of designing out waste and making more reusable and recyclable products. So Toronto supports the move to EPR and is advocating for a standardized program that includes, at minimum, everything that Toronto is already accepts in its program, so there isn't a major impact to our residents. But we're in support of that. Also, the Circular Economy and Innovation Unit has a mixed portfolio that includes innovation and circular economy projects for the division, circular economy initiatives for the broader municipal government, and also for initiatives in the community. Over the past 3 years that our unit's been in existence, we've learned that, we've learned a few things, and we think that they would be useful for businesses that are trying to become more circular. Senior level buy-in is vital to sustainment. System level change requires collective action. We recommend looking for quick wins and consider the readiness of the market to provide circular offerings. As the city matures its circular economy portfolio, one of the important things we're assessing is how to best accelerate circular transitions in the community and businesses, and how we can partner with industry to achieve our shared objectives. One key strategy we're exploring to support suppliers and vendors to become more circular is implementation of our circular procurement framework. By demonstrating demand for circular products and services, we're hoping to leverage the city's purchasing power to encourage businesses to move in this direction. There are numerous initiatives underway at the city to support the development of a green sector in Toronto. One key program is the Green Market Acceleration Program, which provides businesses access to city infrastructure and to test and build models, which people can check out on our website.
Wow, that's amazing information, Emily. And I'm sure that if Tom and Brent had known that there was support there for them to develop things, that would have been exciting. We need to get the word out. And we'll do that as the Circular Economy Club Toronto chapter. So we'll be talking to you about that again, Emily. Thank you. Let's go on to our next question. What are some suggestions as to how we can implement circularity in cities? Now, this is a very broad scope question. We'd love to hear from Emily first, but keep in mind that we have about 5 minutes, so keep your answer to within 1.5 minutes or so.
Okay. while there isn't a single roadmap or model for how to be a circular business, community, or government, I think what works for one company or a local government won't necessarily be relevant to everyone. My team has been working with multiple city divisions to determine how to turn the circular city opportunity that has been identified into concrete action for the municipal government and our partners in the community. As a result, our unit includes innovation and circular economy projects. And what we recommend is Ellen MacArthur Foundation and C40 cities have many resources to rely on. So for municipalities to look to them for information. The city's current circular city scan that we're doing right now, the baselining study that I mentioned earlier, is a great first step for us in establishing a circular trajectory for our city.
Wonderful. Yes, you are on it. I understand. That's really good. How about you, Tom? What are your thoughts? Oh, we can't hear you. Hang on. Let's see if I can unmute you. There we go. Try again.
Concerning the implementation of circularity in cities, because I work so heavily in the commercial, industrial, institutional sectors, I'm just kind of seeing, I want to stop seeing, minimizing of waste transfer stations and focusing on resource hubs, where a lot of these products and materials can be better utilized within other manufacturing sectors or e-waste, principles. We already have a lot of metal recyclers and plastic recyclers throughout the GTA, depending on how they're located, and even textile operations. But I'd like to start seeing, especially from a community aspect, creating more of these resource hubs until the principles of circularity, where we literally design out waste as a result of circularity, circular economy, and designing out specific products, does come tenfold, whether it's 5, 10, 20 years, because we have to work within the existing systems we have that make them cost effective. And this is one of the strategies, at least that I see, will be very, very well taken and should be an implementation within any city center.
I love that. Our waste transfer station has now opened up a reuse section where you used to be not allowed to take things out of the landfill bins, but now they have a section where you can go and take things. And I think that your suggestion would change the lens that people look through. So that's a great suggestion. And Brent, what are your thoughts?
Well, certainly really encouraged by everything that I'm hearing from Emily today on what the City of Toronto is up to. My first thought was that cities and businesses and households need to look at all of their operations from a circular lens and figure out how do we implement circular concepts and thoughts into everything that we do. And just an example, a personal one for me was I recently replaced carpet in the upstairs of my house. And when I went to purchase carpet, I had no idea that there was carpet that was made with 100% recycled content. And that was important to me. And I didn't even know that was an option. And that was the carpet that we ended up selecting. So I think it's important to look at everything, all operations, and do some research and see what's available out there. And just quickly from an IT standpoint, all the major OEMs are releasing carbon footprints of the devices that they're manufacturing and selling. So organizations can look at 2 devices that may meet their requirements from a configuration standpoint, but one may have a smaller carbon footprint and a smaller energy use consumption compared to the other. So organizations can make informed decisions that are not just going to save them money, but they're also going to have a positive impact on their environmental footprint.
Yes, and this again loops back into your suggestion earlier about how do we educate people on what companies are doing and give them more transparency around their products and getting them recognition. Yeah, that's all good. Thank you very much for answering those questions. Now I'm going to go to our questions from the audience. And we've got Rue in the background who's been watching the chat. And Rue, maybe we can turn on your mic and you can pose those questions. There you go.
I think all the questions in the chat have been answered. If anyone has any new questions, our great panelists have been going back and forth and addressing certain things in the chat, which has been super.
Okay, anybody has a new question, drop it in the chat. Now's your chance. Not seeing any right now. Okay. Well, any of our panelists, would you like to add something in summary? Oh, we have one question come in. No, that's not a new question, is it?
Oh, there is
All
a
right.
new question.
Is there? Good. What's that
The new
question?
question is, how do we get more exposure to recycle programs and manufacturers? Some ideas around visibility.
Okay, who would like to speak to that first? We have only about 3 minutes left, but I think if you each took 1 minute, we could get some input.
Well, on our website, we have case studies that are promoting, or not promoting, but educating people about 10 different businesses and nonprofits that are part of the circular economy. I also know that on the Circular Toronto website, there's a list of companies that are part of the circular economy, so that might be helpful.
Great. And Brent, your thoughts?
You know, I think the technology space is doing a pretty good job, I think, of raising awareness, and we're seeing a lot of the larger tech giants adopting circular economy strategies and making goals around reducing their carbon footprint. So, you know, I'll continue to work with the OEMs from that standpoint and help bring awareness and see what other ways that we can sort of create, again, a general awareness around recycling and the benefits of reuse.
And Tom?
It's going to require sort of a network approach, an all-encompassing kind of network approach where users, whether they be residential or commercial, can kind of find not so much a synergy, but a format. Utilizing technology is one great benefit, kind of a directory strategy where they can tap in to find out what's going on locally, and where manufacturers can also see where they can divert specific products, you know, so it's recycled, you know, in a sustainable manner. It's one of the ideas that always came to thought for me.
That's great, Tom. I just wanted to point out, because I've experienced it, that each municipality's recycling programs are so different, and they try to have apps and things available to their residents, you know, just to figure out what the recycle entails and the details of it. It's a difficult job right now, and I think one of the notes I read about was one of the goals is to consolidate recycling requirements across Canada a little bit more, or at least Ontario. So that would be helpful as well. So I'm going to move on to our thank you, because we know that everybody's on a timeline, and we have links here on our last slide that would be valuable to you. They're from the Circular Economy Club provided. And then we also have our information here where you can visit these two websites to get in touch with either the Circular Economy Club or Circular Toronto, which is our group. And we can help you with further questions you might have. We'd really like to thank you for being here today. And we're excited to be doing our first webinar. Please add yourselves or companies you know of to our distribution list by contacting us, and look forward to our next webinar. We're not sure what that is, but there were certainly quite a few interesting topics that we could speak again on.